Hello, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing day. We are waiting for these tubes to warm themselves up on this beautiful Tuesday. I hope your week is unfolding incredibly well and you're accomplishing all the things you set your mind to. We've got a great stream planned on the day. There is a breaking exclusive from the Daily Mail. Let's get a preview of what is coming up. Woo, this is a big one. Kamala Harris's husband apparently was not well liked at his old law firm. And they changed this headline just recently. It had a couple quotes in here calling this guy an a-hole and other things, calling him inappropriate and misogynistic at his workplace as a lawyer. And there was a 2019 lawsuit that was alleging sex discrimination by other partners, not about Doug, but about other partners. And he came up in that lawsuit. And so the Daily Mail dug into it and they've exposed the lawsuit. You can see, we'll go through the story because in the lawsuit, Doug is referenced. And we've already talked about Doug when he was in, I think Europe. I think he was in Paris with presumably this woman and gave her the old backhand when he thought she was flirting with somebody, even though she wasn't flirting with anybody. But Doug's dark past continues to come out. You can see there are excerpts here. And what's so interesting about this story is apparently he hired a trophy secretary. Oh, and her name was Katya. Katya. Katya, trophy secretary, who apparently, according to this complaint, everybody wanted one. Once Doug got himself a Katya, every partner said, we should all have a Katya, you know? That sounds nice. And so we'll learn more about exactly what was going on here. This is Katya. And so that's what Doug wanted. More and more partners wanted other Katyas. I'm sure she's really excellent with her legal assistance. So we'll go through that because the Daily Mail had a bunch on it. And then there was this report from Josh Boswell, the guy who's been digging into this. He put together a very nice X thread. And we also have the actual complaint that was filed against the partners there at that law firm, other partners. But Doug shows up in here and we learned all about Katya and his trophy secretary, which is a curious thing for a guy who's filled with anti-misogynistic tendencies and who is a new definition of maleness that's unlike Trump, who doesn't exhibit any type of anti-women behavior. It's very interesting for him to be involved in something like this that we're going to read today. So we're looking forward to that. Then we've got some other stuff. Now, a bit ago, we talked about the Haitian migrants who had filed criminal charges against President Trump. Remember that in Ohio, there is a provision that allows them to do this. They can, as civilians, work with lawyers, come together, file a petition, and they did that. So as you can see, we read through the full thing here. They actually filed an amended. So this is it's kind of like an indictment, I guess, a civilian indictment or a civilian criminal complaint. But it was filed by a law firm on behalf of the Haitian Bridge Alliance. And they were charging Trump with a bunch of different things, all these different crimes. Making false alarms, inducing panic was a new one they added, complicity, and all this related to Trump's Haitians' comments, eating the cats, eat the cats, eat the cats, that one. They all flipped out about it, said there's bomb threats and all sorts of stuff happening. So Trump needs to go to jail. They actually were demanding that there was an arrest warrant be issued so that they could go pick him up. And J.D. Vance too. The next time they pop into Ohio, there'll be an arrest warrant for him. Maybe they don't come back to Ohio. And of course, we're asking ourselves, this feels like it might be political. Is there a little tinge of that? Well, what happened is we know that the court issued a ruling on this that was rejecting and declining their charges. But then we got to see this. This is the actual decision and the order that was written by the court, by the judges. and it's good. They're not happy with what they saw. And they, in fact, say that some of the evidence that was presented to them may not have been exactly what they said it was. And we'll read through that. So Trump's charges rejected, declined by the higher level court, and the law firm that was behind it all, they've responded to this. And so we'll see what their statement says. We'll see if they're pushing forward on it, because evidently a prosecutor in Ohio could still pick this up and move forward with it, but it's probably dead on arrival. So we'll go through that. No, I don't want to hire your law firm. Okay, no, I don't want to talk to you. All right. So we've got all that coming up. Then in our final segment, we've got another criminal charge out of New York. Oh no, the Southern District of New York. This one is an ex-aide to Mayor Adams. His name is Mohamed Bahi. Former New York City Hall official, also got charged with crimes. And this was interesting because I think this was the guy, when we were reading through the indictment from Mayor Adams, we saw somebody like went to the bathroom like, I really gotta go. Like, let me go. FBI's like, all right, cool, you can go. He's in there. He's like, delete, 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 delete. They walk in there. He's like, I'm not deleting anything. No, I'm not. You have to stop deleting. I'm not. What are you talking about? I'm not deleting anything. And now he got charged. Witness tampering and destruction of evidence in connection with the federal investigation. So he's busted for that. So we'll read through this. We'll see what else is inside and who else it implicates. I wonder who it could be. He worked in the New York mayoral administration of certain public official number 1. Thanks, DOJ. I wonder who it could be. It's hilarious. So we'll go through that and we'll see what's happening in New York, because he was also there. This is the guy, Mohamed Bahi. He was there in court today in New York. And so we'll read through the thread, courtesy of Inner City Press, who was also there, to break down what happened at his initial appearance before we read through the actual criminal complaint itself and see what juiciness is inside. Of course, we'll hear from you today, and any super chats that you might want to send in. It would be amazing if you considered sending it in over to Eric's house. Link is in the description below. And we'll read those super chats, anything that comes through here on the interwebs as soon as we're done here. So we got that coming up and a bunch of other things to get to today. Very grateful to have you here and with us, my friends. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes on the show, we got to talk about this thing that everybody's talking about. Those injections for weight loss. You've heard of those? We've seen the results. They're pretty dramatic. People kind of shrivel up. They say they work by lowering blood sugar, reducing appetite, and all that stuff. But what if you need to lose weight, but you don't have the money for those shots, or you don't want to take weekly shots? Well, doctors created a weight loss supplement called Lean, and the results are remarkable. Here's what it looks like. And the ingredients in it have been shown to lower your blood sugar, burn fat, convert it to energy, curb your appetite and your cravings, so you're not as hungry. But now Lean is not for the casual dieter with only a few pounds to lose. The doctors at BrickHouse Nutrition have created this for frustrated dieters with 10 or more pounds to lose. And so let's get you started. You can get 15% off and free rush shipping, so you can add Lean to your healthy diet and exercise plan. Visit takelean.com and enter Robert15 for your discount. That's code Robert. And you can enter in takelean.com on your browser, or just click this promo code, this QR code right there on your screen. It'll take you right there to the website, and you can get Lean today. It's good stuff. We all want to be healthy, and we appreciate our friends at BrickHouse Nutrition. All right, so now, without any further ado on the day, we've got some Katya business to attend to. Kamala's husband, Doug, busted. An old lawsuit has now emerged, and he has been named inside of it. Now, he's not a named party. He's not a defendant, but he came up because he hired someone named Katya, who apparently, according to the lawsuit, was brought on as a trophy secretary. Her picture is coming up. But these are the allegations that came exclusively from the Daily Mail and Josh Boswell, saying that Doug Emhoff, the husband of Kamala, was inappropriate and misogynistic at work, says the Daily Mail. Colleagues tell the Daily Mail. Now, this comes from attorneys who worked with Doug at his former law firm, company called Venable. They say he yelled expletives. He held a men's-only cocktail hour in the office. Wow, he revoked work perks from women who didn't flirt with him. No, you cannot have a muffin this morning. No. Gosh, Doug, it's rude. Everybody else got a muffin. And he took only young, attractive associates in a limousine to a ball. Doug. Now, this stuff is obviously pernicious at law firms. All that garbage you see on garbage TV about disgusting lawyers being disgusting, it's all true. A 2019 lawsuit also claimed sex discrimination by other partners in the LA office that Emhoff ran, and that while engaged to Harris, busted, he hired an unqualified part-time model as a legal secretary because she was young, attractive, and friendly with the powerful men in the office. Oh man, this is rough. Now, the claims are the latest in a string of allegations revealed by the Daily Mail that threatened to shatter his image. Look at him. Love first, love first, love first, in all the colors. And they said he's a feminist ally and, a wife guy. Yeah. Now, in August, the Daily Mail also revealed that he cheated on his first wife and got his grade school teacher, maid nanny, look at that title right there, got her pregnant. And then we don't know what happened there. We think there might have been an abortion. Some people are speculating there was a fall down some stairs or something. We don't really know. But Doug was on with Jen Psaki, and she said, "You're like this new version of masculinity. We're so inspired by you because you're going to be like the first man," or something weird. So they were really excited about it. Now, he admitted to the affair after the story broke, so it wasn't really forthcoming about that. Then last week, Daily Mail also uncovered this dude's backhanding his ex-girlfriend in the middle of the streets of Europe after he thinks she's flirting with some valet driver, even though she's not. She's, "I'm trying to get the car, baby." He's like, "Don't you talk to him. He's the valet." 4 days after the Daily Mail contacted Emhoff, Doug Emhoff, for comment, a spokesperson reportedly denied the allegations as untrue. They said it's not true. Neither he nor the White House have commented to any other media, including us. And now his former colleagues from the Venable Los Angeles office, which he ran from 2006 to 2017, he ran it. They're coming forward with allegations about his inappropriate and a-hole behavior in the workplace. Now, they all spoke upon agreement that they would not be named, fearing retaliation. One senior former staffer claimed that Doug Emhoff bragged about yelling, "Get the F out of my office," to a female partner at the firm. Later telling his top male colleagues, "I had to do it. I had to put her in her place." And they're like, "Yeah, bro, good for you. Get rid of her." Now, she had to ask him something, the ex-staffer said. His office door was closed. She said to his secretary, "Is he on the phone?" She said no. So she tapped on the door. He didn't answer. So she slightly opened the door and stuck her head in. "Excuse me, sir, I just need your signature on this." He screamed at her, "Get the F out of my office!" What's worse was he bragged about it to management. He said, "Yeah, Stephanie came in here and I had to tell her, stop coming in my office." And they were aghast. He's like, "I had to, what?" They said, "He's an a-hole. I can't believe he came and told us that." He told them how we, quote, put her in her place. He came in and says, "I swear to her," which is wild. And by the way, like I have actually seen and heard about a lot of this. And we would hire, not at my firm, by gosh, but I worked at two firms before we opened my firm. And then we hired a bunch of people, and they would always come and, hey, how's it working at your firm? Tell me about your day to day. What do you do? Like, oh, it's like brutal. This guy screams at us every morning. I'm like, what? Wild. So it's all over the place, but doesn't excuse it at all, right? And I detest it, actually, because you should be taking care of each other. Your legal assistants, your staff, everybody should be taking care of the lawyer there, so the lawyer can take care of the client ultimately, right? And they're all working together to take care of the client against the prosecutor and against the courts that are trying to screw everybody. So if you have intra-office degeneracy like this, if you have people screaming at each other like this, it's dysfunctional. It's bad leadership. You can't run a team like this. You ever been on a team where everybody's screaming at each other? Just, can you move this or get over here, run this play? Everybody's screaming at each other. It's lunacy. But a lot of lawyers, and not just lawyers, but I mean everybody, doctors and sales professionals and everybody, contractors too. I mean, I did I did that too. So everywhere you have hotheads and people who are trying to level up, but a good team is not built or function this way, which is another problem with Doug and Kamala. Not only are they domestic violently abusing their spouses, at least one of them is, they're also bad leaders and can't even run a functional team. So that was the woman he apparently backhanded. And then he went on with Jen, and Jen is so useless. The Inside Jen Psaki interview. Wow. She has a whole segment about being inside of the show. So more photos. They love each other. Don't know if he's about to violently assault her here or what. Or if he's smirking because he can't wait to get home to scold her and tell her to get the F out of my bedroom. I don't know. But you can see there's something going on. Fake kissing to cover up the abuse. You know how this goes. Now, a female ex-staffer said it was well known at the firm that Emoff was very flirty, and that if you weren't flirty back or if you didn't respond positively, then you were on his crap list. This former Venable lawyer accused him of favoritism, saying the consequences of not flirting with him that you wouldn't get to work on the cases you wanted to work on. Whoa, this has like Epstein vibes. I'm sorry, Weinstein vibes. Maybe Epstein vibes too. I don't know. But interesting. Yeah, you want that movie part, don't you? Yeah, you do. You know what that means. Ugh. Now, same thing happening here. Oh, you want to work on that first-degree murder case? Oh, you want that high-profile case with that corporate firm? Oh, now there were deadlines that if you were one of his favorite people, wouldn't apply. You can do whatever you want. But if you weren't, they would apply to you. Just like his disgusting wife right now. If you are liked by the Democrats, you can burn down the 3rd precinct in Minneapolis. Not even a big deal. Kamala will bail you out. But if they don't like you, you rot in custody like our J6ers sitting there as political prisoners. Another woman who worked at the firm for several years said that Emoff ran men-only drinks in the office so he could talk about belittling the women there. He had, for many years, cocktail parties where only men were invited in the office on Friday evening, she said. When my colleague brought that to the attention of Venable in 2010, that stopped. The female attorney, right? These are also attorneys who are dishing these goods out. They claimed Emoff also forced his colleagues to give him a cut of fees from new clients, using his control over allocating staff to new cases. If you bring in a client, you get compensated. And he was in charge of the litigation department, so he staffed your cases. So if you wanted to staff your case, you had to give him a part of your origination bonus, or you didn't get staff. That happens in law firms all the time. Wow. So he's a real sneaky. Now, a woman who worked under Emoff as junior attorney, right? So, and that's how that works on contingency cases, by the way. So many people don't know this, but like, you're going to go hire an injury attorney or something like that, and they refer you to somebody, and they refer you to somebody, and they refer you to somebody. Everybody's getting a cut of that. Not everybody, not all the time, but that's what's happening here. Not all firms are like that, because not all firms are terrible, but like this guy's was. Now, or this guy was. Don't want to belittle the whole firm, but it sounds like this guy was a shady operator. Now, a woman who worked under Emoff as a junior attorney said that he favored young, pretty girls at the firm. Weinstein situation. And he kind of resembles Weinstein. But if there was an event like the Justice Ball, he would favor certain people. Usually it was young, pretty girls. And he would prefer for them to ride with him. He would get a limo. Oh. Now, I just don't think his behavior was appropriate for the position he was in. I wonder if the floodgates are going to open. I wonder if there's going to be more people who face this abuse. One top former staffer told the Daily Mail that plenty of people were aware of Emoff's alleged inappropriate behavior at the firm, but they covered it up. A former legal secretary at Venable also, her name is Marjan Rabbi. We're going to read through her complaint. She actually sued them and two of its partners, not Doug, in 2019, alleging sex discrimination. She claimed that their attorneys yelled at her, they humiliated her, they demeaned her. Now, Emoff wasn't a defendant in there, but he was called out in the complaint. We'll read it. The LA court filing also claimed that Emoff was known for having a glamorous secretary in her 20s. Oh, and that's okay. It's okay. You can have good-looking secretaries who are in their 20s. But she was unqualified. But she was hired only because she was young, attractive, and friendly with the powerful men in the office. Oh, no. Emoff was the partner in charge of the office when Rabbi, the woman who is filing this lawsuit, joined. So he was in charge. He married then California Attorney General in August of that year and was promoted to West Coast Managing Director in 2015. So it's a giant firm. And there's the lawsuit. Now, we're going to read the full thing and go through it, but let me just share with you the photograph of Katya, the woman who is referenced here. Katya Calderon, age 36, began working as a legal administrative assistant at Venable in 2014. And apparently that's an old photo of her, right? So that looks like it's an old photo. This guy's wearing, they call that the Karine now. The Karine. It's designed by Karine Jean-Pierre, okay? It's French, and she works at the White House. So it looks amazing, and if you have any problems with it, then take it up with the press briefing office. But so this was apparently her back there. You can see it's kind of an interesting photo, actually. It's kind of a provocative photo to be, anyways, strange. Like it looks like it's like a photo for like a website or something. Like, I don't think your legal assistant, like, hey, pose for this photo so we can put it on the website. It's kind of like a weird photo. Like, are you guys on a date or something? What is that? I don't know. So here he is. And I think if you just put some curly hair on him, he'd kind of have a Weinstein vibe to him. But her LinkedIn says that she was a legal administrative assistant at Venable and there for 3 years, May to 2017, and a legal practice specialist at another law firm, the same law firm that Emoff also moved to in 2017. So he hires her, then he moves. So he hires her, she works there, then he changes firms, brings her over. The LinkedIn page says she is supporting partners Stuart Liner and Douglas Emoff. Now, despite claims that she was unqualified, she has a paralegal certificate from 2010 and 3 other legal assistant roles even before joining them. So maybe she was perfectly qualified. See, you can be good looking and totally qualified. Now, Venable's employment contract meant the company was able to force Rabbi to move her case out of court arbitration, and the lawsuit appears to have been settled and it was later dismissed. Some staffers did say that they had positive experiences with Emoff. One female ex-senior staffer said, yeah, no, I found him supportive, and that he had a genuine interest in the firm and the younger folks in the firm. Oh, man, that's great. So one female ex-senior staffer who's probably like a major Democrat, like dyed in the wool Kamala Harris. Like, do you have a quote on this for us? Doug? Yeah. Like skins crawling. Oh, yeah, I remember Doug. Yeah, he had a genuine interest in the firm and the younger folks in the firm, too. He really cared about them. Ugh. All right, and a male former top partner said that Emoff was respected and liked as well. Now, Emhoff, who specialized in entertainment law, among other areas, joined Venable, founding the national law firm by merging his company. Emhoff was quickly promoted to partner in charge. Then he oversaw the team of 70 in LA. And that's the woman that he impregnated. She said, "I'm freaked out right now." There's Doug and his family. And he represented there while at Venable. He represented a nightclub owner accused of sexual harassment and Merck over its drugs. International arms dealers. Yeah, he handled some big cases. Nobody responded to requests for comment from the Daily Mail. All right, so that's the background. Now, let's take a look at the actual lawsuit. So this was the lawsuit brought by Marjan Rabbi versus the Venable law firm, and Doug Emhoff is not named here. You can see this was filed, it looks like back in 2019 based on that case number, and she had attorneys there from LA. So what this looks like is they write, on March 13th, partners at Venable, they flew into a rage at Marjan Rabbi, his legal secretary, over her purported mishandling of partner credits. Now, red-faced and yelling at her while she sat at a desk, he humiliated her and demeaned her in front of her colleagues in a busy legal office. And so does this guy work under Doug? Like, should Doug have been managing that? Is Doug responsible for making sure that doesn't happen there since he's the partner in charge? Humiliated and panicky, Miss Rabbi fled with the assistance of a coworker to a common area, like ran left out of the office. Silverman chased her down, and as she was on her hands and knees in a panic attack, stood over her and continued out of control rage, screaming at her. When he finally regained control, he excused his conduct to Miss Rabbi as due to a difficult month. Sorry, I just snapped at you. She later lost consciousness and was diagnosed with a severe panic attack. Okay, the woman friggin' blacked out. Now, the abuse visited at Doug's firm. Now, the abuse visited on Miss Rabbi that day was not unusual, okay? Rather, a culmination of a pattern of abuse by male partners directed toward her because of her gender and sex. The conduct began when she joined Venable along with partner Alex Weingarten. She joined with this other guy who came over. Weingarten, a known office bully, became worse when he faced pressures of performing as a partner. Now, in early 2014, Rabbi was told by this guy who yelled at her that she was useless to him. "You're like a child. You're useless to me." Finally, he drove her from his desk after deciding that he deserved a young, attractive secretary like his partner, Doug Emhoff, had. Her name, Katya, was office code. "You're useless. Get out of here. And you're old, too. I need a young one. A young, hot babe secretary like Doug." Her name was Katya. And her name was office code, as alleged in this lawsuit. And of course, this was settled. And so everybody in here should be presumed innocent. Now, Venable should be ashamed for permitting this conduct to go on for years. And you know who was running the place? Doug. When Miss Rabbi complained, which was not infrequently, she was told that the highest levels of management were hearing her complaints. Doug? Now, Doug left at some point, but this has been going on for years, right? So even if Doug was gone by 2019, presumably he was there at some point. Now, yet there were no improvements in any of this behavior. She was told that when she complained that because of the power wielded by the attorneys, it would be almost impossible for her to find work if they separated, right? So if you, we're going to get jobs somewhere else? Everybody knows you're lawyers. Like, they're not going to hire you. They're going to call them for recommendations. They're going to say no. You're going to be gone. And all that, a lot of that's also fake too. So if you work in the industry and you're in an environment like that, and you have a crap bad lawyer who's treating you like that, it's probably not like that. I don't know what your specific markets, but probably not. There's probably a good lawyer who you can work for, and you'll make both each other's lives much better. So if you needed to hear that today, there you go. At the same time, and I needed to hear that at some point. Now, at the same time, Venable was pretending to listen to Miss Rabbi's complaints. It began a polite but persistent campaign to make working there as unpleasant as possible. Force her out. She had been moved to at least 7 different desks in the last year and a half. Hey, you're moving again today. Great news. You're moving again. Hey, great news. Her current desk is completely isolated from her colleagues, so they shoved her in a closet somewhere. The constant reassignments have prevented her from establishing work relationships, earning overtime and bonuses, generating positive employment reviews, and more. The abuse that she suffered, coupled with her retaliation, has seriously compromised her health and her ability to continue to work as a highly compensated legal secretary. Okay, she may never even recover. Now, the days when an attorney can make enough money to excuse verbal abuse and humiliation of the women that work for him are over. Legal staff is not required to tolerate and even babysit lawyers through tantrums supposedly caused by stress or pressure. It really is pathetic. It's really pathetic. You see it in court too, honestly. And you see it happen with full-grown adults in court. And there's a lot of pressure and stuff like that, but it's just wild. Verbal abuse, it's just like anything, right? Every industry, you expect people to perform at a certain level and people fall below the line. Verbal abuse and humiliation alter the terms of employment. When this conduct is directed at women, it's discrimination. And so the parties are Marjan, Rabbi. There's also this person a defendant, this person a defendant, and the LLC, the corporation, the law firm. Big company, website, more than 850 professionals, and a bunch of people there. According to its website, one of the LA offices, 90 plus professionals, sits on their diversity committee. Only one of the Los Angeles offices sits on its diversity committee. All right. Now, the Does are the defendants at the law firm, and here is their complaint. So they say, okay, Rabbi began working for a lawyer before he joined this company. Then he joined, right? He left. She came with him. That happens all the time. Now, prior to joining, this guy would abuse her and other women, including her. He was actually sued by someone else, right? So Amy Fleshert now sued this guy. Now, after joining this, Rabbi hoped that Venable would exert some influence over him. She's like, okay, look, this is a big firm. They'll come in, they'll get him in line, and I will be protected because there'll be HR and management and all the things. Turns out the opposite happened. In fact, in 2014, this lawyer complained about a mistake on a cease and desist letter that she had finalized. He called her and screamed at her on the phone, calling her useless for his mistake. Then Rabbi learned that Weingarten, the lawyer, had sent the letter to a firm client. She went out of her way to call Weingarten privately to alert him that he had a problem. When she tried to warn him, he screamed at her, including, "F off, I'm on vacation, you deal with it." Then in the summer of 2017, his behavior got worse. He criticized her for calendar conflicts that he created. She's like, well, did you check your calendar? You have to check your calendar before you schedule something then. He regularly changed his mind about partner credit submissions, later accused her of getting it wrong, would routinely refer to her issue with numbers as the reason that she was wrong and he was always right, yelled at her routinely, called her a child all the time. Now, she actually has a problem with numbers. It's known as dyscalculia. Weingarten was aware of this. He knows she's got a disability. And so he was actively looking to move her off his desk. In fact, by the end of 2017, he's like, I'm done with her. One day, she was meeting with Carlene and Corinne to discuss another matter when a lawyer walked in on the meeting with the pretext of asking Miss Rogers about moving to Douglas Emhoff's office. So she's in a meeting and she's in there. He walks in. He says, I'm thinking about moving to Doug Emhoff's office. What? Now, dropping his pretext and without prompting, Weingarten, the attorney, told Rogers that Miss Rabbi should be assigned to do filings and work with Jeff Logan and Eric Bakewell so that he could have himself a Katya. And Katya, that's Doug's. He's like, I'd like to move over to Doug's place. He's got a Katya. I'd like to go over there, get myself a Katya. And while we're doing this, why don't we just give Miss Rabbi, she can do filings. We'll reassign her to Jeff and Eric. They don't need a Katya, I do. Now, this was not the first or the last time that Weingarten, the lawyer, referred to Katya as a euphemism for a trophy secretary. Miss Rabbi heard him comment at one time that every partner should have a Katya. Oh, isn't that nice? Now, they have a footnote down here, footnote 2. It says Katya refers to an assistant hired by Doug Emhoff, who was widely considered unqualified and hired because she was young, attractive, friendly with the powerful men in the office. A Katya. This is what the complaint alleges. I'm sure she's a very nice person. And Weingarten's abuse towards Miss Rabbi continued to try to force her to leave his desk so that he could have his Katya. He was inspired by Doug. Now, in October, he told Mike Barnes that he needed a new secretary because of her learning disability. Then, when they closed the Los Angeles office out of concerns for wildfires, they were closed, but she was expected to respond to client emergencies. She responded about an hour after the messages were sent. The lawyer just berated her. The tirade didn't stop. Blamed her, left the conversation. She feels like she's an emotional punching bag. And so the thing goes on, right? The abuse finally forced her to request a reassignment, told her to move away from the desk. Doug is presumably there and in charge of everything, and nothing's really happening. The reassignment did not help. Still discriminated. Many people continuing the abuse. Already busy with demanding attorneys, the stress continued to increase. She was walking on eggshells. 2 women, he said, we can't put these 2 women together. We can't move a floater near Miss Rabbi's desk because they're both women. And if you put these women together, they're just going to gossip all day like schoolgirls at Doug's law firm. And so the rest of the complaint is about her and her lawyers and the people that she was working for. So it's really one tier below Doug, right? He's kind of the managing partner is what it sounded like. And this was happening right under his nose. So they filed a couple of complaints. They ultimately settled this complaint. Not sure what the terms of the settlement were, but I'm sure that none of them are talking about it. So the complaint was filed by Nathan Smith. Of course, it was settled and resolved. But Doug, not responding to this issue, and more continues to emerge about Doug's terrible past. And his trophy secretary called Katya, seen here, brought into the firm for her stellar legal analysis. And we'll see if more people emerge who were also a part of Doug's dark past. As the election continues, we'll be here to cover it. All right, and so, interesting update there. Now let's keep this train on the track, my friends, because we've got some Haitian migrant news to talk about. Trump's criminal charges not moving forward after they were brought by the Haitian migrants. Trump, of course, had the infamous comment at the debate, eat the cats, eat the cats. And everybody melted down over that, including the Haitians and the people over at Haitian Bridge Alliance and Gwerlyn Joseph. They came together with a law firm in Ohio called Chandra Law, and they crafted a set of criminal charges. Now, Ohio allows you to bring criminal charges, and so they brought them against Trump. And in fact, they wanted Trump and Vance both arrested and charged with these criminal offenses: disrupting public services, making false alarms, inducing panic, complicity, telecommunications harassment, aggravated menacing, inducing panic, and more harassment, and on. Now, they wanted actual warrants issued. They wanted Trump and Vance arrested. And we read through a sizable portion of the original, we'll call this a criminal complaint. But as you can see, the Ohio law authorizes a private citizen to charge criminal offenses by filing an affidavit. And we read through the memo and portions of the affidavit, And so they amended this. This has been changed. They submitted it to the courts in Ohio, and the courts have responded. And boy, is it good. You can see the judges respond to Trump's Haitian migrant criminal charges. Municipal court out of Clark County, Ohio. We've got a nice opinion here that rejects the charges. Let's see what the judges write. All right, guess what? Gwerlyn Joseph and the Haitian migrants have now brought charges under Ohio code against Trump and J.D. Vance. They filed the affidavit. We read through it. They want them prosecuted. And they want them arrested. Arrest warrants and summons issued. Now, they filed an amended affidavit that also included 30 pages of factual statements that alleged criminal behavior by Trump and J.D. Vance. The crimes are as follows. We read through them. Misdemeanors, 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 misdemeanors. And so the court came out and said, all right, listen, we've reviewed everything. We reviewed your affidavit, the amended affidavit, the bench memo that we read, the flash drive of the video clips, Trump's comments about eat the cats, eat the cats, and everything. And we've also read the statute that you say gives you power to charge. Now, here's what the law says, that we shall issue an arrest warrant if the things happen. And so let's break it down. The offenses here that are alleged against Trump, when it's a misdemeanor, the court may issue a warrant if it chooses. Now, at first blush, it would seem that that paragraph leaves no room for the court to exercise its independent judgment. But guess what? That is misplaced. We can make this interpretation and decide whether to issue a warrant based on this obscure Ohio law that allows civilians to file criminal charges. First, the paragraph about the charges of a felony is shall. It's mandatory. Thus, the court is required to either issue a warrant or refer the matter if it's a felony. But if it's a misdemeanor, then it shifts over to may. So it goes from must to may. If it's a felony, you must then refer it over. And this one here is a felony. So we've got 1 4th-degree felony. The rest are misdemeanors, absent this one. Inducing panic could be charged as a felony, but the others look like they'll be charged as misdemeanors. So they're making a distinction there. Obviously, felony is much more serious. Thus, the court has the discretion for the misdemeanor charges. Now, it's also true, obviously related to criminal law, we can't issue warrants without probable cause. So just because you bring a felony charge doesn't mean we automatically pursue it. So it's may for the misdemeanors and probable cause for all of them. So even with a finding of probable cause, we still, if it's a misdemeanor, could decline to issue an arrest warrant if we so choose. Now, the court turns to the question next, once we know how the rules work, of whether the claim is meritorious at all. Will you succeed? Is there probable cause to support the allegation that a crime or crimes have occurred? In this case, because Trump said eat the cats. Probable cause exists where facts and circumstances are sufficient to warrant a prudent person to believe that the suspect has committed a criminal offense. Now, all of the conduct alleged in the affidavit centers around statements, words that were made either by Trump or J.D. Vance. And guess what? Freedom of speech is among our most precious and protected constitutional rights, unless you're a Democrat. It's enshrined in the First Amendment of the United States that they want to get rid of actively. And indeed, the United States and Ohio Supreme Courts have recognized this, the importance of speech, even when it stirs people to anger. Quoting case law. Now, in this case, not only do the allegations, these criminal charges from the Haitians, not only do they raise the issue of speech, But they complain of political speech. And we know that political speech is at the core of what the First Amendment is designed to protect. In a widely cited case, the United States Supreme Court reinforced the vital interest in our democracy, protecting speech that's critical of the government and protecting political speech. They said, there is no question that speech critical of the exercise of the state's power lies at the very center of the First Amendment. Speech is an essential mechanism of democracy, for it is the means to hold officials accountable to the public. It's our only means. And we get to vote in botched elections. Therefore, political speech must prevail against laws that would suppress it, whether by design or inadvertence. Laws that burden political speech are subject to strict scrutiny, the highest standard, which requires the government to prove the restriction furthers a compelling interest and is narrowly tailored to achieve that interest. So we protect speech highly, aggressively. Speech remains protected even when it may stir people to action, even when it may move them to tears, or even when it may inflict great pain. Apply that all to Trump and January 6th stuff. The constitutional guarantees of free speech and free press do not permit a state to forbid or to prescribe advocacy. Now, although all speech does not have absolute constitutional protection, the strict scrutiny analysis of any criminalization of speech requires thorough and extensive investigation before we'll allow you to charge somebody. So, quick constitutional law concepts. We have these three standards that we often refer to. We'll draw them over here on the left. We have the lowest standard, which is called the rational basis standard. And basically, let's say the government does something. We say, well, the government can't do that. If it's something that is analyzed under this low standard, I'll explain what that means. Then there's this intermediate scrutiny standard, which our constitutional laws created. And then we have what we're talking about right here, which is strict scrutiny. Okay, it's kind of the highest standard. So it's if the government is going to do something, we might apply one of these tests. And the test that we apply to measure, can the government do that thing? It depends on what the government is trying to impact. So if the government is just trying to set, a speed limit on a government property road, that's the impact, to adjust the speed limit on that. All right. So you don't have a right to come in and interfere with that. You don't have a right to claim you can't set the speed limit there. It's not infringing on any of your constitutional rights. So we say, okay, if it's not infringing on any of your rights, then the government has maximum power to do what they want to do. So if there's any rational basis for them to do the thing, they can do it and you can't complain about it. And a lot of government action happens under this test. Then we go up to the intermediate scrutiny test, which is kind of wonky, so we'll skip it. And then we go to the most serious test, which is the one that we're at now, which is if the government is infringing upon a serious, one of your constitutional rights, if that is the action that the government is trying to impact, then we bump it all the way up. Wait a minute. They're trying to impact one of our constitutional rights. So now we have to apply strict scrutiny. Here, if they're criminalizing speech, that's a core fundamental right, baby. That's strict scrutiny standard all day, obviously. So in order to meet that standard, then to say the government can actually do that thing, it has to meet the strict scrutiny test, which they just delineated further up here, which is necessary and furthers a compelling interest, and it's necessary to achieve that interest. Narrowly tailored, very strict. Like the government has no other way to get that thing done, and they have a strong, very compelling interest to do the thing that they're intending to do. Now here, the First Amendment protection of the speech factor into our analysis and into the good faith nature of all of these allegations that are even brought by the Haitians. Now, this election is less than 35 days away. Wow. The issue of immigration is contentious, and due to the proximity of the election and the contentiousness concerning the immigration policies of both candidates, the court cannot automatically presume the good faith nature of the affidavits that were brought by the Haitians. That is not to say that the affiant, the affidavit, does not believe that what she is alleging is true. She might think that she's true, but rather whether the conclusions that the affiant reaches, which is that being that Trump and J.D. Vance's political speech are crimes, it could be influenced by her personal experiences, right? As opposed to an objective analysis of the alleged speech and the constitutional protections that are afforded to that speech. This is why we have prosecutors that are supposed to do independent reviews and pursue crimes, criminal charges in the interest of justice, not because you're some upset Haitian or complainer, right? Part of this organization. The alleged conduct occurring within the community and the claimed nexus between the speech and that conduct. Now, a nexus or causation between the speech and the acts committed by the other people, as alleged, cannot be presumed. So, right, Trump says this is Trump's statement. It's a bad speech, bad statement. Haitians, eat the cats, eat the cats, eat the cats. This is the statement. Then we have, in blue, we have bomb threats that are happening, right? And so they're saying, the left is saying, well, this right here, that's the causation. Trump said the thing, it caused this bomb threat to happen, and they're connected with one another. There's a nexus between the two. Whereas the other argument is you could do that for basically anything, right? Trump can say anything can happen, and you can draw that. That's not how you prove causation. In this case, the conduct referred to is a speech. And for probable cause to exist, it is not sufficient that Trump or Vance might have foreseen the acts that they alleged in the affidavit. Like they could have predicted that maybe something bad could happen if they said the thing. That's not how that works. It's, did their statement actually cause those bad things that you're alleging to happen? And is that criminal under the codes that you've alleged? So they say for probable cause to support a prosecution here, the totality of the circumstances must prove that the statements by Trump and Vance are not entitled to First Amendment protection. And the statements are completely false. The statements are the direct and proximate cause of the alleged behavior of others. The alleged behaviors of others was criminal, and that the criminal behavior should have been reasonably anticipated by Trump and Vance as imminent resulting from their speech. Whoa, that's a mouthful, right? That's basically the new standard. Every one of those subcomponents could be its own checkbox. And so you could just think that out. One, the statements are completely false. Are they completely false? They would say yes. The right would say no. The statements are the direct and proximate cause of the alleged behaviors of others. Like they caused the bomb threats. They caused the evacuation of the schools. They caused the people to call in the bombs and to make the threats and all the things. And that they should have been reasonably anticipated by Trump. The bomb threats and stuff were criminal, should have been reasonably anticipated by Trump and Vance as imminent. Okay, so that's another one. Imminent, like it's happening right now. So Trump says, eat the cats, bomb threats are coming in immediately. And they, anticipated it to happen and that they wanted it all to happen in order to shatter all the protections of the First Amendment. It's a lot. Now, the concurring opinion elucidates the factual considerations, which may bear probable cause and good faith in this case, but however, the majority of this panel did not believe that it's this court's place to further address probable cause or good faith based on the disposition of this case. Here's why. The judiciary and the prosecution have separate functions, okay? Courts are not investigative bodies. It's appropriate for the court to act on reliance upon a prosecutor. This is particularly true where the allegations are of a serious nature and for the reasons set forth in the concurring opinion, with which the full panel agrees. We agree with everything that guy said. The conclusion of whether the evidence and causation is necessary for probable cause exists to commence a prosecution of the alleged offenses is best left to the prosecution, right? If they want to talk probable cause and all that, that's for them to determine in order to initiate this. The prosecutor's determination on probable cause will render the good faith basis for the affidavits moot. If they decide it's good, then we don't need to address that here. Now, the statutory scheme under which these criminal charges are filed does not permit this court to simply deny the request and dismiss the allegations as it relates to the felony charges. And so rather, because the court questions the existence of probable cause and the good faith nature of the affidavits, because it's very close to an election, it's about immigration, the court is required to refer the felony charges to the appropriate prosecutor. And so therefore, the court cannot dismiss the affidavits and its requests in their entirety, because the law says you got to send it over. But it's the opinion of this panel that the discretion afforded concerning the misdemeanor charges would permit the court to dismiss those. However, since the misdemeanor charges may be filed in conjunction with felony charges arising out of the same facts or circumstances, it is appropriate to refer all charges to the felony prosecutor for further investigation as to whether there is probable charges for the charges. With particular consideration, okay, the court says, to be given to the strong constitutional protections afforded to speech and political speech in particular. So this is the court basically notifying the prosecutor that there's nothing here. So just be advised. Now, it's therefore ordered that all matters set forth in this affidavit filing in this court are hereby referred to the Clark County prosecutor, and they're going to decide whether any further prosecution is warranted. And the likelihood of that is probably low, especially given this final admonishment from the court that it's not warranted here. So we'll read a statement from the law firm and see if the prosecutor will pick this up, the law firm that just lost this. But here is the concurring opinion, which is brutal. It says, this court has reviewed all the documents, and I concur in full with the finding and the opinion of the court. Now, this opinion is to document further reasoning as to the decision of this judge. Now, the court concludes there is no necessity for a hearing in this matter. Counsel for the criminal charges person stated in a bench memo, they said investigation is neither needed nor requested. The Haitians have submitted extensive materials, bench memos, amended bench memos, supplemental bench memos, and more. Now, the statute, the law, does not require a hearing, and the court has no obligation to set the case for a hearing. Case law does require the court to make two inquiries, though. The first is whether probable cause exists as to all elements of the crimes, or the claim is not meritorious. And the second is unless the judge, clerk, or magistrate has reason to believe that it was not filed in good faith. Probable cause and good faith. Now, the court notes that the affidavit from the Haitians and the request in this case was not filed by a layperson. It was filed by lawyers. The filing is signed by one lawyer, but it lists 4 different lawyers as representing the parties requesting the action. Now, the first issue that will be addressed is the issue of probable cause. They say the materials submitted make no specific allegations to venue in Clark County, Ohio. And that's critical. Now, their filing is not a criminal complaint. However, it does request that a complaint be filed on the basis of the allegations. So what is the geographic nexus specifically? The affidavit of Miss Joseph indicates that we have spoken to immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. Okay, so those are the victims, maybe? Paragraphs 9 through 13 allege different incidents or different fears of Haitian individuals in Springfield. And while the court should not have to guess at the specific allegations of venue, where did the crime actually happen? These averments could establish venue in Clark County, Ohio, under some provisions, and these are hearsay. Now, the finding of probable cause may be based upon hearsay in whole or part, provided there is a substantial basis for believing the source of the hearsay to be credible and for believing there is a factual basis. So saying, well, those claims that we have spoken to immigrants, so like they told, like someone else said something, like, okay, and questioning the source. Now, the statements in paragraphs 9 through 13 allegedly were made to unnamed individuals working with the Haitian Bridge Alliance. So who are these people? The individuals who allegedly made the statements to the unnamed individuals from the Haitian Alliance are also not identified. So the people who made the statements to the Haitian Alliance don't know who they are. And the people who got the statements at Haitian Alliance, we don't know who they are. So the court is asked to find 2 layers of hearsay submitted by unnamed individuals that they have a substantial basis for believing the source. And that's the source, okay? Well, this hearsay not only goes to the establishment of venue, but also to elements of some or all of the crimes that you want us to make independent findings on. Now, there is no information submitted to the court that can be examined for the court to find that the unnamed sources of these statements are credible. How can we even know if they're credible? To believe what they said. So without a basis, we can't make the required findings. We don't even know if it's true or if they're credible. Now, similarly, look at this judge, man. Paragraph 7, 8, 16, 17, 18, 50, 51, 57, 61, 69, 76, 79, 96, 97, 98, 100, 101, 107. So he's sitting there with a red pen, just like we are right here, marking every paragraph. Oh, there's one. Reading, reading, reading. Oh, there's one. Reading, reading, reading. Oh, there's one. Marking them all down. Saying, all right, they all allege that Trump and Vance knowingly made false statements, specifically concerning dogs, cats, and geese. Eat the cats. Eat the cats. The affiance materials rely heavily on statements by Governor DeWine and local officials to attempt to establish probable cause of the false nature of the statements. But the statements from the officials repeatedly indicate the following very similar statements. They all say something like this. We wish to clarify that we have not been able to verify any credible reports. They've found no credible evidence. They have no evidence of that at all. No verifiable evidence or reports show this was true. We just have no verifiable claim that this actually happened, and many similar statements. Now, the court acknowledges the difficulties of proving a negative. There is a significant difference, however, between stating that there are no verifiable reports that a statement is true and proof and or probable cause that a statement is false. This judge has tremendous respect for the officials making the statements, but if any of the officials voice the opinion that the statements at issue were false, those statements are in the form of opinion, and Ohio rules of evidence state that if the witness is not an expert, the witness's testimony is an opinion. So that's just their opinions. There is nothing in the reported statements by the officials that on the basis of the record before the court would justify any opinion that the statements at issue are false. Just that they cannot be verified as true, right? They're different. We don't know if it's true, doesn't mean that they're false. There's no evidence that that is happening, doesn't mean that it's not. And you're allowed to say those things. You're allowed to make these statements, and then other people can refute those. You don't get to charge people with crimes for that unless you're a psycho. Now, the affiance materials implicitly acknowledge, the Haitians, that there were reports that led to the statements at issue. Reports came out, right, that actually led to the statements. Trump didn't just make it up out of nowhere. The court is left to speculate from most of the materials as to why the reports were not verifiable or credible. Did police respond to the reports? If there was a response, what was the elapsed time between the report and the arrival of the officers to investigate the report? What are the articulable facts that would justify the opinion that the reports are false? Because there were reports. The statements may be false. There appears to be no evidence outside of the acknowledged reports that the statements are true. The statements may be true, but there is no factual basis for the court to find that the statements are true or false based on the statements of the officials. And once again, the court should not be left to speculate about this. Probable cause is based on articulable facts, not on speculation. And in addition to citing statements by local officials, the Haitians also rely on interviews conducted on CNN with Vance as evidence that Trump and Vance were purposely making false statements. They wrote in their affidavit, they said, quote, when they're filing their charges, they said, in the same interview, Vance admitted that he was just making harmful statements up. Vance said, if I have to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana. Now, the referred to interview is contained in what is labeled paragraph 59 on the flash drive that you gave us. The interviewer also labels the statements as false on CNN, Dana. That's false. That's not true. They're not eating cats. The court has reviewed the recording numerous times, this judge. The court sees nothing in the interview that is an admission by Vance that he was just making harmful statements up. When asked about the evidence as to the statements of Vance, Vance replied, well, the evidence is the firsthand accounts of my constituents who are telling me this happened. That's the evidence. When the interviewer questioned him about creating stories after the quote in paragraph 52, he said, Dana, it comes from firsthand accounts of my constituents. I say we are creating a story, meaning we are creating the American media's focus on it. By creating a story, we're making this like a focal point. The interviewer even later says, I have not accused you of anything, right? Dana says, I'm not accusing you of making this up. But then they said he made it up just to hurt people. It's a fake quote. So the statement in paragraph 52 is inaccurate, right? The Haitians' criminal charges are inaccurate in paragraph 52. When the interviewer referred to the false claims on Face the Nation, Vance said, yeah, I've heard about a dozen things from my constituents in Springfield, Ohio. 10 of them are verifiable and confirmable. A couple of them we have district firsthand accounts, for example, of migrants abducting geese at the local park and slaughtering them and eating them. Maybe all these constituents are lying to me. I would appreciate it if the American media would show up and did some real investigation rather than amplify the worst people in the world. Why is someone calling it a bomb threat? So that they could blame Trump, I guess. And UJD. So they submitted that. The Haitians submitted that paragraph. Now, in response to a PBS show, another member of the media asked a similar question to Vance. Vance said the same thing. I've got residents in Ohio coming to me with a dozen problems, talking about it for months. Overwhelming small towns. You got the quote from JD. Now, those accounts and those quotes were submitted by the Haitians, showing that JD was making false statements. But those don't sound false at all. Like the earlier statements discussed, the above quotes are hearsay from unidentified individuals in those other paragraphs, and they cannot be considered for the truth of the matter asserted. However, right, so these people are telling JD things, right? These people told JD things just like the Haitians told the Haitian Bridge Alliance things in their criminal complaint. So everybody's just talking about stuff and the harms and what's happening. Now, they also cannot be considered for the truth, but they could be admitted as part of Vance's state of mind, his mens rea. So did he know that he was saying false things, or did he think he was saying true things? Because that's what his constituents were telling him. It also could go to the state of mind of Trump as to when the statements were made. So there is nothing, says this judge, in the submitted materials indicating that officials and or media and or counsel for the Haitians are making any efforts to investigate the reports from the senator's constituents. Are you guys going in and checking into these geese abduction stories? Counsel actually said in their report, right, the lawyers said themselves, investigation is neither needed nor requested. We already have enough evidence that we need. And so those reports may be false, but they may also be credible and true. Vance seems to believe the accounts are true, and the above material submitted by the Haitians negates probable cause as to the required mens rea. Vance needed to have knowingly thought that they were false, or knew they were false, that they were not eating the cats, eating the dogs, and then said they were anyways, right? His mindset was, no, I'm hearing from my constituents. It sounds like the geese are gone. So the court is once again called on to speculate here and assume that the reports are false, but they're not going to do that. Probable cause is not established by speculation. Mens rea, the mindset, is determined by evidence, including facts and circumstances. Now, the crimes that the Haitians are contending, that they also want Trump and Vance to be arrested. They disregard mens rea and the mental state. The court considers the Haitians' paragraph 52 and 7 to be inaccurate and misleading. Busted, man. Misleading. The evidence submitted in the above paragraphs on the flash drive is, if anything, it's exculpatory. It exonerates them. It tends to exonerate former President Trump and Senator Vance of the guilty mind. Once again, the court is left to speculate as to the exculpatory strength of these accounts, but the evidence that's submitted by the Haitians tends to show that Trump and Vance relied on reports that were made to them by constituents. So they weren't making up anything. Your evidence shows that. They said it in your own evidence that they got it from constituents. So you have to establish probable cause that they knew that that was false. The above listed evidence negates probable cause because it negates the mens rea. It's usually established it must be established usually by facts and circumstances. And what you've submitted does not do it. The submitted materials do not establish probable cause that the statements are false at all. The materials also do not establish the statements are true. But we got speculation here, and that's what free speech is all about. So the Haitians claim that Trump's statements about the Haitians have caused multiple bomb and other threats and closures. Trump's statements caused the bomb threats. That's why they happened, because of him. Now, causation is also an element of a number of the charges, and the jury instructions define what is cause. What does it mean? Well, it's an essential element of the offense, is an act or failure to act that in a natural and continuous sequence directly produces the harm, and without which it would not have occurred. The defendant's responsibility is not limited, these are the instructions, to the most immediate or most obvious result, and the defendant is also responsible for the natural and foreseeable consequences in what has flowed from the event. Now, did Trump cause all of these bomb threats? You said that there were 33 bomb threats in the days following the debate. Now, the materials contain very little information as to the exact threats other than to label all of them as hoaxes, so we don't know anything about them. Now, the Haitians also seem to contend that due to the threats being in close proximity to the statements, that probable cause as to causation is established. So Trump said the thing and then bad stuff happened, so therefore Trump is responsible. But the materials do contain some insights into the threats. Governor DeWine does have information concerning the investigation into the threats that he's made public. The governor gave us the following information that they submitted to us in their flash drive. He said 33 bomb threats, Governor, each of which was responded to and found to be a hoax. 33 threats, 33 hoaxes. We have people, unfortunately, overseas who are taking these actions. Some of them are coming from one particular country. We think this is one more opportunity to mess with the United States, and they're continuing to do it, so we cannot let the bad guys win. Our schools must remain open. Now, the governor later declined to identify what country the threats were coming from. I don't know. He should have told us that. I mean, because there's many countries. I mean, obviously, the obvious ones are going to be like your China. We're waiting for Russia all the time. Iran's a big one lately, top 3 these days. But the obvious one, is it Haiti? Like, what country? Are they calling from Haiti? Oh, they're saying we eat cats up there. How about we just blow their schools up, you know? I don't know. Where's it coming from? Haiti's as good a guess as anyone. Now, the governor later gave some additional information in an interview. He said some of the bomb threats came from foreign nations. Others came from the United States. All of them have been hoaxes. None of them have panned out. Now, look, the people who are making these threats are the bad people. They are the wrong people. Some come from overseas who want to mess with the United States. We have some coming from the United States, from people who are sick, who think for some reason this is funny. Now, the interviewer then interrupted the governor and asked him if the statement stopped, would the threat stop? The government replied that he could not predict what would happen. So the first question then is whether in the natural and continuous sequence would the threats have been made without the statements? So would these things have happened if Trump had not said anything? Or Vance didn't say anything? The second inquiry is whether the threats are the natural and foreseeable result that would follow in the ordinary course of events. So if Trump says something like that, is it normal that people you get 33 bomb threats when Trump makes a comment about immigration? No. Trump's made many comments about immigration. There's not 33 bomb threats that happen every time. Maybe it's just the Haitians. There are limits under the law to what the court can refer to as a causal chain. The question is how far the chain extends when the potentially inflammatory remarks are made and bad things follow. Now, the only evidence before the court is that the threats were made from some foreign countries and or overseas who want to mess with the United States, and from other people, quote, who are sick, according to the governor. Sick people are sick. There is nothing in the record to indicate that the bomb threats were made by any local individuals. Is there probable cause to believe these threats were the natural and foreseeable consequence by what Trump and Vance said? Now, the court notes that the governor indicated that he could not predict what would happen if the statement stopped. The inquiry has some far-reaching implications in political discourse in the United States and our implementation of criminal statutes. You want to play this game, lefty boys? The inquiry could be made in a large number of situations. For example, there were calls to hold President Biden responsible for his quote, his comment about time to put Trump in a bullseye. Remember that? When the attempted assassination occurred. Did Biden cause Trump's assassination? Should he be indicted for that? There were calls to hold Senator Sanders responsible for comments that he made, and one of his volunteer campaign staffers shot Congressman Scalise and other individuals at the softball practice. This court strongly believes that President Biden and Senator Sanders did not cause those events. The court also believes that the time proximity alone cannot establish causation. There is nothing that the natural and foreseeable result would follow that any of this would happen here. When the threats that were made were from people from foreign countries who were trying to mess with the United States and other local people who were sick. If someone was wanting to mess with the United States, there's nothing in the record to indicate that the threats would not have been made without Trump's statement. And it also doesn't appear to be a natural and continuous sequence. So therefore, there is no causation. And the court finds that there is no probable cause established as to the causation of the bomb threats and anything coming from the statements. And so therefore, these materials submitted on the flash drive contain a significant amount of information centered around the Temporary Protective Status Program. It's the understanding of the court that TPS status is a temporary status that allows foreign nationals to live in the U.S. for a limited time. According to ICE and DHS, they've extended this for people from Haiti. It's also the court's understanding that Homeland, in consultation with the State Department, designates the TPS time periods. The designation can be extended or terminated by the President of the United States. Now, the Haitians claim that Trump cannot order the deportation of legally admitted immigrants. Now, the problem with that position is that their status is temporary. DHS at this point has extended TPS status for the Haitians until August 3rd, 2025. Now, the evidence indicates that comments by Trump are an indication of what he intends to do once he wins the presidency. In my words, not the judges. It appears that the president could order the individuals from Haiti who are here under temporary status to leave the United States or be deported after August 3rd. And so it appears that if elected, he would have the authority to redesignate that or to terminate the program. And if he decided to do any of the above, he would be acting in his official capacity as the president. And guess what? The Supreme Court just came out and affirmed the president has absolute immunity for any official acts that involve the core duties of the president. And so statements concerning deportation appear to be statements of intent as to how former President Trump intends to exercise his discretion on immigration if he's elected to another term, which means he needs to be free to talk about those things. That's the First Amendment. Great stuff. Now, the crime of aggravated menacing that they want him charged with also requires that the offender will cause serious physical harm. Once again, these Haitians do not specify an individual victim at all. Deportation could be quite distressful to an individual who wants to stay into the United States, but it's not serious physical harm. Like, deportation might suck for that person, but it's not serious physical harm. So there's no probable cause for aggravating menacing. And the court also finds that based on the information provided in the amended bench memo and the affidavit, that probable cause does not exist. It's not meritorious as to the charges, so the court will now turn its attention about whether this action was filed in good faith. The court has a number of concerns about the filing of this action. First of all, this action is filed within 60 days of the presidential election. The question always arises in such cases as to whether filings are filed in a manner to affect an election without giving the accused sufficient opportunity to even defend the action before the election occurs. Nailed it. There was a significant amount of material submitted to review in this case. It took many hours to adequately review and to consider the points made. The bench memo asked this court to forthwith issue warrants for Trump and Vance's arrests. It was like nuts. It goes on to state, this court should be done before Trump fulfills his threat to visit Springfield, so that he may be arrested upon arrival for his criminal acts. Now, it should be the goal of lawyers that this action is evaluated thoroughly and that a fair resolution be obtained. It should not be to influence a presidential or vice presidential candidate who they choose to, where they choose to campaign. It should not be a stage to stage an event where candidates can be arrested if they arrive in our state. Now, the language used to advocate for the action brought by these lawyers is troubling to the court. It is noted that she interprets Trump's announcement that he will visit Springfield as a threat. Now, the court does not interpret the announcement, which I saw in the materials, as a threat, okay? The bench memo and the affidavit constantly refer to the statements in issue as lies. And as noted in the court's decision, the evidence produced does not even establish probable cause that the statements are false, much less lies. So the court is concerned about these lawyers' statements about the prosecuting attorneys that also work here in this community. The court's defending the prosecutors. There is nothing in the filing that indicates that these Haitian lawyers has even spoken to a local prosecutor about his concerns, and apparently they don't even have any knowledge if there even is an investigation. And so this case revolves around what have been characterized as false and inflammatory comments by Trump and Vance. The comments about the prosecuting lawyers have nothing to do with the issues that were submitted to the court for our determination. The court finds it interesting that the lawyers would make what the court would consider to be false and inflammatory comments about the prosecuting attorneys who serve Clark County, Ohio. Wow. So this is a blowout, man. So wait a minute. You're charging Trump and Vance with making false and inflammatory comments about the Haitians, and then you're showing up and making false and inflammatory comments about the prosecutors. That's interesting. The court finds it interesting. Yeah. Now, the above statements by the lawyers and the Haitians could, however, make for interesting quotes in the media. That's exactly right. Now, the court, as note, which is, we never suspected that criminal charges were ultimately going to manifest. Even when we read it the first time, we were putting it in air quotes, criminal charges. The court, as noted in this decision, is particularly concerned about counsel and the affiant statements that Senator Vance admitted to, quote, just making harmful statements up. The court considers this to be a significant mischaracterization of the evidence submitted to the court. Significant mischaracterization of the evidence. Now, the action is filed by 4 lawyers, says the judge. The court has pointed out what the court believes to be glaring deficiencies in the requested charges. Counsel states further investigation is neither needed nor requested. Yeah, the court respectfully could not disagree more. The court finds that this judge has reason to believe that this was not filed in good faith. This court also finds, pursuant to Ohio code, that the claim is not meritorious. Both findings are for the reasons set forth in the concurring opinion. Now, having made the original findings above, there is only one option here. The court sends this matter over to a prosecuting attorney for investigation. Wow. So, signed by the judge, Stephen Shoemaker, just nuking the Haitians' claims of criminal charges and really lambasting the attorneys. 4 lawyers brought this. This is what you guys brought to our desk. And now you're scolding the prosecutors. That was very, very enjoyable. So great opinion out of Clark County, Ohio, the municipal court. Those charges will go over to a prosecutor, so they're not gone yet. But based on what we just saw here, unlikely that any prosecutor is going to want to pick those up and move forward with them because of the deficiencies in their process. Now, this is the law firm's website. They've responded. They said, in response to the opinions of the court, we released the following statement. They say the court's opinions are deeply flawed, and the Haitian Bridge Alliance is disappointed by the court's decision, saying there was an irregular process, saying they made up a special procedure, saying that there's a problem with how they determined causation, saying you're free to infer. Well, they use that's okay. So circumstantial evidence example is what they're using. No snow outside. You wake up, there's snow on the ground. You can infer circumstantial evidence. Trump and Vance's falsehoods, mischaracterizing the release, denying a hearing. So let's see what they're going to do. They say because prosecutors haven't acted to protect our community, the bridge is skeptical about whether they will do so now, especially when the court is giving them cover not to act. So it's hard for the bridge to believe that there's equal justice under the law when Trump and Vance get special treatment. Okay. So they're trying to have their political opponents arrested for just saying some things that are based on reports from actual constituents who live here, who say that this is happening. They'd like to have the Haitians have so much equal protection that anybody who criticizes or even says anything about their community, whether it's true or not, and this is America, by the way, you can say things that are not true about certain things, not necessarily intentionally, but you can have questions about it, right? Is this true or not? Is this report something that has been confirmed or not? And Trump, they were never out there openly, actively, maliciously making up claims as they would have you believe, and that's why those charges got dismissed. Good news. All right, we got one final segment on the day, my friends, and this one is taking us over to New York. And so let's see what happens. The Southern District of New York arrested another one from Mayor Adams' administration. His name is Mohamed Bahi, who got arrested for the destruction of evidence. And when we read through Mayor Adams' original indictment, we saw that, according to the government, somebody went into a bathroom, got on their cell phone, and started deleting a bunch of materials. Apparently, it was this guy. And so he was in court today. This is a photograph of him and Mayor Adams, Mohamed Bahi, and he was formerly working with Mayor Adams. Inner City Press was there at the scene today. He was deleting his Signal messages and he got busted. So FBI director was out. They say from 2022 to 2024, he was working for Adams, and then he was involved in a fundraiser and more. And so we'll just read through the ultimate complaint and see what happened there, because this is coming out of New York. Right next to Mayor Adams, you see, here is the sealed complaint, not an indictment like we've seen in other matters, but prosecutors are Celia Cohen, Rohrbach, Scotton, and Wickstrom. And the first count is witness tampering. Wow. On June 2024 of this year, he met with 5 potential witnesses and directed them to lie to law enforcement. We'll see what the counts are. Here's the background. So count 2 is destruction of records. He deleted the encrypted messaging application Signal from his cell phone once they arrived to execute a search warrant. Oh no. So here's how it went down. This guy, I'm special agent of the FBI. I've been personally involved in investigating this matter. Now, this affidavit is based upon my personal participation, and I might supplement this as needed. From approximately 2022 through the present, Mohamed Bahi worked as a senior liaison to Mayor Adams. Beginning at least in or about 2018, Adams campaigned to be the mayor. In 2020, Bahi solicited campaign contributions for the campaign. Now, since in or about 2021, the FBI and the DOI have been investigating the receipt of so-called straw contributions by Adams. A straw contribution to a political campaign is a contribution that is made in the name of one donor for which the donated funds, in fact, came from a different person. The knowing solicitation and acceptance of this can violate laws, and I investigate this. Now, as explained in greater detail, Mohamed Bahi, the defendant, was involved in organizing a fundraiser for Adams. FBI was investigating, and he obstructed our investigation. So here's what the agent says. All right, based on my review of the records, I know, among other things, the following. On December 10, 2020, 4 individuals, each person was a donor. They were all associated with a construction company. They got contribution cards for each of the donors. They were submitted to the campaign. Each of the donors' contribution cards listed the construction company as the employer. A 5th person also contributed to Adams, also with a contribution card. He listed himself and his position as president of the company. Now, he knows that this guy, this 5th person, is the founder and the president of the company. Now, each of the 4 donors and the businessman all contributed $2,000 by check. All 5 of those cards submitted by the donors had matching pre-typed information, including the recipient, the names, and the addresses of the donors. So somebody filled them all out. They looked identical. Each of the 5 cards contained a signature on a line reading contributor signature. Above the line, each contribution card stated, I understand that these are my funds. I confirm I was not reimbursed by anybody for this. Guess what? I have reviewed text messages from the accounts, and based what I have seen, the FBI agent says the following. On November 19, 2020, a telephone number saved to businessman's phone contacts as a variant of the name of Mohamed Bahi. He texted him. Construction guy sends Adams aide. He says, hey, Thursday, 7 p.m. your office, private fundraiser and dinner for Adams. So then Bahi says, okay, he moved it to tomorrow to 5 p.m. Is that okay? He said, yeah, that's actually even better. Then another text. Bahi sent him a text. Hey, I'm coming now. I think he's about 15 minutes away. Less than 10 minutes later, Bahi texted him, said he's outside, bringing him in. So bringing Adams in. Law enforcement has interviewed each of the donors and the businessmen. Based on my participation in some of those interviews and my discussion with other law enforcement agents who also participated in those interviews, I know, among other things, multiple witnesses confirmed the following. The donors and the businessmen attended a fundraiser in 21 at the headquarters of the construction company. Adams showed up. Mohamed, the defendant, organized and attended the fundraiser and suggested the businessman should reimburse donations by his employees. Each of the donors made straw contributions. Each of their $2,000 was reimbursed by the construction company. Busted. Then there was witness tampering. On or about June 13th, in connection with the federal investigation, FBI agents then executed a search warrant. They went to his house, served him with a subpoena issued by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York. Around the same time the search warrant was executed, FBI agents also approached each of the 4 donors with subpoenas issued by a grand jury and attempted to interview them. Got them all same time. Based on my participation in certain interviews, my discussion with others, I have learned the following. On June 13th, Mohamed, the defendant, the businessman called Mohamed and said, the FBI raided my home. Then, on June 13th in the afternoon, Bahi went to the offices of the construction company where he met privately with businessmen. Then he met with the 4 donors. Like, oh crap, they raided you? We got to talk. During the meeting between Bahi and businessmen on or about June 13th, Bahi told the businessman, I just talked to Adams. He asked the businessman to describe his interactions with the FBI. After the businessman told Bahi that the businessman had denied having funded straw donations, when questioned by the FBI, Bahi then advised the businessman that if he continued to tell that lie to federal investigations, that he would be okay. Okay, great. That's what you told him? Okay, just keep telling him that. Then he met with the businessman and the 4 donors. He asked each of them to describe their interactions with the FBI. He took photographs of the grand jury subpoenas that had been served on them. During the meeting, the businessmen and the 4 donors, Bahi encouraged the donors to lie to federal investigators by denying they'd made the donations and remarked that because the donors' contributions had been reimbursed in cash, the FBI would be unable to prove that anything had happened. Then Bahi again met with the businessman. During that meeting, he indicated to him that Bahi had met with Adams and that Adams believed that the construction guy would not cooperate with law enforcement. Now, FBI agent says, based on my training and experience, I know about this application called Signal. It's an encrypted messaging application that allows users to automatically delete messages at certain intervals. Based on my involvement in open source information, I know that Adams used Signal to communicate and sometimes encouraged others to do so, and that people who, like Mohamed and the defendant, worked for him also used Signal. Now, on July 24th, in connection with the FBI investigation, agents executed a search warrant at his home. Based on my discussion with the agents who participated in the search, I've discussed and learned the following. At 6 a.m., FBI agents began knocking on the door of his home. They started calling a phone number known to be his to say, "We're here to execute a search warrant." No one answered the door. Bahi did not answer multiple calls from the agents. So then they called his spouse. She lives at the home, former spouse, who still lives there. She answered the phone. Agents identified themselves as federal agents, told her that they were at the door, they wanted to speak with him. Bahi and the former spouse initially claimed not to be home. Eventually, she came to the door, but refused to open it. So sometime after Bahi's former spouse came to the door, Bahi himself came to the door. They let the FBI into his home to execute the search warrant. Once agents were inside executing the warrant, an agent mentioned to Bahi that the agent had repeatedly called, hey man, I've been calling you all morning. This prompted Bahi to take a cell phone out of his pocket, which the agent then seized pursuant to a warrant. Thus, Bahi had uninhibited access to his cell phone between learning that the FBI were present at his home and the FBI entering the home. Now, during an interview with the FBI agents who were executing the warrant, Bahi stated in some substance and part that he had used the Bahi cell phone as his personal cell phone for approximately the last few months. Stated he was planning to travel to Egypt that evening. Man, he was about to get out of here. Based on my review of information from the forensic extraction of the cell phone, which was performed after the cell phone was seized, I have learned, among other things, that Signal was not on the cell phone at the time it was forensically searched. Activity logs for the cell phone indicate, however, that the cell phone had been used to access the Signal application as approximately 12:04, the same day that his home was searched and his cell phone was seized. In other words, the Signal application was deleted from the cell phone sometime between approximately midnight and shortly after 6 a.m. when the cell phone was seized. In the afternoon, FBI agents called Mohamed, the defendant, to ask him follow-up questions about the cell phone. I participated in that call along with other agents. During the call, he admitted that he had recently deleted the Signal application. When agents asked him when that day he had deleted Signal, he said, "I'm not going to disclose when he deleted it." During the interview, he then claimed that he had a practice of deleting applications that were suspicious before traveling internationally, in case he was questioned by authorities during that travel. That statement appears to be false, okay? From my review of travel records, I learned that he traveled to Egypt already, back in February, returning to New York, and based on my review, I know that he did not delete Signal on that trip. He used Signal on that trip, and he sent messages to Adams via Signal on that trip. And specifically, the Bahi cell phone contains a screenshot of messages that they exchanged while he was in Egypt and Yemen. And it also has metadata that shows he took it during the trip. And so therefore, I, Jacob, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Agent, do believe that there is enough cause here to arrest and issue a warrant for Bahi, Mohamed Bahi, and the courts obviously have done that. And so he has been arrested. He was brought into court. This is what it sounded like when he was walking out of court.
Mr. Bahi. Did Mayor Adams tell you to
How do you plan to plead?
Thank you, Katya.
All right, so not a super eventful day, but there were some proceedings that took place. You can see inner city press was there, and he was brought into court whispering with his lawyer. The judge walks in. All rise. Please be seated. Deputy says, okay, Your Honor, presenting here Mohamed Bahi. Defense attorney says, Your Honor, I'm only on this for this presentment. So defense attorney is just handling this. Judge says, time of arrest today, 6:20 a.m. All right, Mr. Bahi, you're charged with obstruction of justice and destruction of records in connection with the alleged straw donations to a candidate for mayor. You do have retained counsel for today? Have you reviewed the complaint? He says, yes. All right, because this is a complaint, you have the right to a preliminary hearing. We'll set a date in a bit, but now we're going to address if you can be released. Prosecutors, what's your position? Your Honor, we propose release on a $250,000 bond that's co-signed by two financially responsible people, and we want pretrial conditions with the exception of condition 5. And we want no contact with co-conspirators or witnesses, in this case, outside the presence of counsel. Is that acceptable to the defense? Your Honor, that's fine with us. Okay. Well, these terms are acceptable to the court, Mr. Bahi. You will be released on those terms if you fail to fail to appear, or violate conditions. A warrant will be issued for your arrest. The bond must be bail, and you'll be charged for bail jumping. You understand? Yes, sir. All right. Nothing further? Nothing further? Okay, we're adjourned. And that's the day in court. So another New York official arrested, criminally charged. And the question is, what was on that cell phone that he was deleting? What was he doing back and forth in Egypt? More will be revealed. We'll be covering it. Thanks for joining and subscribing as we do. All right, my friends, that is it for us on the day. If you're just joining us, we had a good one today. We talked about Doug Emhoff's Katya, his trophy legal secretary. We also talked about the Trump charges that are looking like they're dead, that have been brought by civilian citizens in Ohio. And this court opinion was a lot of fun, decimating it. And then, of course, the latest out of New York, the segment we just covered, was Mohamed Bahi arrested on 2 charges, including the destruction of evidence. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you. And before we jump into your comments, a reminder that this Saturday, we have our Eric's House virtual fundraiser. Eric's House is an organization that's dedicated to helping people who've lost a loved one due to suicide, overdose, or tragic death. And they're doing amazing work. And people come in, they've lost a son, they've lost a brother, they've lost a mother, father, family member, friend, somebody. Totally broken. And they get loved up. There's a bunch of good people. They, counseling, therapy, all sorts of stuff. So if you're in that position or you know somebody in that position, Eric's House can help. This weekend, we're doing our virtual fundraiser. And so all week long, we're going to be plugging this hard. But you can make a dono to support us. And this is your boy right here. We got Mama G is coming in at number 2. Papa Greg is in the house at number 3. And we've got other folks, Madison, Shirley, and what's up, Richard, who are also helping to raise some funds for Eric's House. We've got a $50,000 goal. They want to help 1,200 people this year. And with your help, they can do it. So this is a message from my mom. This is my brother, Eric. Rest in peace. Love you, bro. And to date, they've done a ton of work. Their vision for the future is to support 1,200 families over the next 18 months. And so they need some funds to do that. So we have our big event that is coming up this weekend. And your boy is going to be emceeing it. And so we'll come back. We'll say hello. If you want to make a donation on those things, we'd really love it, because it's going to good work and good people. And so we'll come back. If you drop a dono over there, we'll be sure to read it here today. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for supporting our work and Eric's House. All right, let's see who's joining us in the house. My friends, I saw some great donos and some amazing comments. And so let's see who we have joining us right now. What's up? Yeah, here's one. It's only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday. It does kind of, this Tuesday does kind of feel like a Monday, doesn't it? It's only Tuesday from John McGarvey. Good to see you, John. Thanks for clipping for us. The Hook is here. Says the Tucker interview with Elon is great. I have not watched it yet, but I fully intend to. Thanks for the flag on that, The Hook. Sheila Pooh, 1,000,000 hugs to you, Sheila. We got 5 membos coming in courtesy of Sheila. Jerry, welcome. Matt Grizzly in the house. Suzanne Danielle, welcome. Frank Barron and David, gifted membos courtesy of Sheila Pooh. 1,000,000 hugs to you in the house. Thank you, Sheila. One Old Guy's Opinions says voodoo is the voodoo that they do. Kitties and doggies and geese and chickens make good magic, and their bones can make the future scene. It's just voodoo. All right, on that one from One Old Guy. Hey, Sheila Pooh says like and share this video. If you are ever in the position to pay it forward, please do. Thank you, Sheila, for that. And it's great advice. Great advice to like this video. The best advice. One Old Guy says trophy secretary is the replacement for an ex-secretary, or was he trying to be like Mad Men? This biatch truly has some small problems. Yeah, no doubt. We got Fred Pedamonte says, eat the cat, yeah. Eat the cat, yeah. Eat the cat, yeah. Sorry, too easy on that. That was... Yeah. Thank you, former. We got, that's Fred. Thank you, Fred Pedamonte. And his rascally dog, Johnny, in the house. Sword Magic Helmet says, FYI, in 2002, the Winter Olympics were held in Utah, who dust seeded the clouds before they crossed into Colorado, whose ski resorts experienced record low snowpack, hurricanes. I'm just saying. From Sword Magic Helmet. Sword Magic Helmet. Good to see you, Sword. Glocky says, well, if the rumors about Kamala's alcoholism are true, we now know why. She's probably a spousal abuse victim and drinks to convince herself to stay with him. It's sad, but it all makes sense now. I have a lot more sympathy for Kamala now. Don't you? Now that she has to go home and get beaten by Doug every day. Gosh, no wonder her brain's so bad. All right, that's too much. Ollie, what's up? Mari got gifted a membo. In the house. One Old Guy's Opinion says, sit in my chair, Katya, so your butt can warm up my chair, says Dougie. Maybe that happened. Hey, Jeremiah says, hey, just want to put a bow on Rob's great joke about KJP's crazy suit. Yeah, we saw this morning on our members only stream. It was so good. There's a full video of her talking in that outfit. I think that's real, actually. It's just a different camera angle, a different lens. That's her. She got promoted. She's senior advisor now. Hey, Ollie brought in one more membo. Just Diaz coming in. Tony Hay Munkets is bringing in Andy Foster. What's up, Andy? Welcome. We got One Old Guy says, office code for Doogie is like 'em young with butts that can warm up a chair. Says, did they take her red stapler too? Is that an Office, what's that movie called? Joke? Office Space joke? Is that one? Hey, it's the Munkets in the house. 10 membos coming in, courtesy of Tony Hay. Thank you, Tony Hay. We got Eric with the K is here. Barb Plumley, SCVM. What's up, Joe Hoskins? Rocky, welcome. Judy Oliveira. We got Texas Guitar Gal, the Silverback, RP Games, and Trisha Blankenship gifted membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Hey, it's the Munkets. Hey, James Butler says, I think I found her. Google. Be careful, whatever you Google. We trust James Butler. He's a good dude, but well, I don't know what that name is going to turn up. Got to be careful on the Googles out there. Hey, One Old Guy's Opinion says he likes to leech off young women who work for him. Says, could you imagine having a Katya and then having to marry a Kamala? That's a hard one. Glocky says, DOJ just announced the arrest of an Afghan refugee who was going to do attacks on Election Day on behalf of ISIS. Crowds of people. DOJ is scrambling to cover for the Biden open border policy, but they're not going to get them all. Interesting. I haven't seen that one, but I'll have to look at that. Maybe we'll talk about that one tomorrow. Sheila the Pooh. Thank you, Sheila. Bringing in 5 more membos. Sheila, you rock. We got Sean Price is here. Karen Lewis, Amy Ballard, Sassy D, and Don Davidson, gifted membos. What's up? Gloria B is here. Gloria B brought in Richard Tatership. Welcome aboard, Richard Tatership. Thanks, Gloria. for bringing them in. Hey, just Rhonda. Hey, Rob and friends on YouTube. I just wanted to say hello. I've been watching and reading comments. I've been blocked all over YouTube today, including comments. I have no idea what triggered the block, and I'm hoping it isn't going to affect my own channel. So far, I don't see a strike or anything. Regardless, I have no idea what's going on. I'll keep watching, and I'll keep in touch over here in locals. Big love to y'all. So the one thing I would try, just Rhonda, and I don't know if you've done this or not, but is to like log out and log in, like log out of your apps. Or if you're on a computer, like sometimes my locals or my YouTube will get wonky and locals, but YouTube in particular, if it thinks like I'm in the wrong accounts, like permissions are off. Like if permissions think that you're like on, like one account, but you're actually on this channel's account or that channel's account, log out of everything, log back in, see if it resets some permissions for you. But we didn't do anything on our end. You are not blocked on our end, but we miss you. So hurry back, okay? Hey, Home Heights Realty, the 411, became a supporter. Welcome aboard, Home Heights. The 411, it's your place. Hey, here's one. They're not playing around, okay? The cats have strapped up. Glocky shared this one. Cats are not playing around, all right? These are thug cats. Not playing around. 9 lives, more like 99 lives, and a dog ate one, You ain't gonna eat us, boy, say these hard cats. Sheila the Pooh, what's up? A million hugs for you. 5 membos coming in. Nicola Cox, Cindy Wyant, Karen O, ID Unknown, and Diane B. Gifted membos in the house. Kat Saunders, what's up? Kat Saunders was gifted a membo by Kat Saunders. What a generous person you are, Kat. I don't even know how that works. Carol Morrison got one. JG got one. Exa got one. And Frank Williams got one. It's like the inception of memberships. Thank you, Kat, for bringing in 5 new membos, including yourself. What's up, Jack Mack? Good to see you, Jack. Says, someone could argue that the bomb threats in Ohio were made because someone was outraged with Haitians eating cats and dogs. But that too is ridiculous. Because correlation does not imply causation. This was a stretch. Yeah, you're right about that, right? Yeah, so it would be very nice to know who was making the bomb threats and why they were just appearing suddenly in Ohio. But yes, you're exactly right, Jack. It's not good causation. You could attribute anything that Trump says to anything bad happening and charge him with crimes for that. It's ridiculous. So I'm glad the judges responded appropriately, and I'm glad that we got to go through that. Thank you, Jack, for the nice dono and for being here. One old guy says, voodoo magic didn't work in the courts. Note to self, more kitty, dog, goose, chicken bones for the magic to work in court. Jennifer says, Mr. Joe Sweeney will be on Off-Label Podcast tonight with Glenn Croy after Rob's show, 5 p.m. Pacific. So check it out, Off-Label Podcast. You know who Joe Sweeney is? CIA guy, ex-CIA lawyer. It's going to be a great show because he's awesome. What's up, Jennifer? Have a great stream. Hey, Rick D says, Afghan national arrested for plotting an election day terrorist attack in the name of ISIS. Wow. Yeah, that's a new one. I had not seen that one today. That is great. Great news. So where'd he come from? How'd he get in here? I don't know. I wonder where that came from. One old guy says, how many are thinking that the New York City political elites are throwing their own donkeys under a steamroller to legitimize New York State and New York City Trump lawfare? Oh, I see what you're saying. So like Adams, like they take out Trump, so now they take out somebody on their own side. I think more likely is that Adams just stopped playing ball with somebody in some way and they just took him out. MAGA hat stays. Here's this pup, man. He's seen some serious business. 2 tours in Springfield changes you, dog. Hard. Alice Elizabeth says, hiya. The other day you said a quote from somewhere saying Biden is Harris. Harris is Biden. So Harris is a man? Harris is Biden. Biden is Harris. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Einhorn is a man. He's puking his guts out. Is that a better hint, Alice? One old guy's opinions. Here's one. Vote no. Cackling comrade Kamala. Triple K. Timmy the tampon, no balls, walls in the house. Glocky says, well, if the rumors about Kamala's alcoholism are true, we now know why. She's probably a spousal abuse victim and drinks to convince herself to stay. Yeah, it's a sad thought. Knox is here. Happy Taco Tuesday, all. Here's the story. Did they do that on purpose? This military yeah, this is a story from Not the Bee. A military helicopter blowing stuff all over the place. Don't know if that's supposed to be happening, but it didn't look like it was helpful. Jesser Bob says, I love it. Richard Tatership, a.k.a. dictatorship. Yeah, Richard Tatership. It's like a dictatorship of delicious tater tots. Amanda Hitchcock. What's up, Amanda? Welcome aboard as a new supporter. Hey, new members, grab the members only morning stream and join us tomorrow morning as well. We really tried to deliver for our membos. Speaking of new membos, we got 20 new membos and 10 more coming in, 30 total membos coming in courtesy of MJ Powell and Tony Hay Munkets. Look who's here. Katrinka, what's up? Kenneth B, GNR Lawn Services in the house. Kim Polly, Q Alright, Jay Jarvis, Sonami. We got Deep Surface, George A from Southeast Michigan. What's up? We got Mike Bennett in the house. We also have more. We have, let's see, who's this? B-Dub, CV Grady, J-Dub, 655, Super Iron Bob. We've got Rita, Bumstead, Peter Uri. We have Jittery Hobo, Stephanie Panis, and others shouting out all our new membos. What's up? B-Dog is in the house. We've got Vaga Bard, Chris P, Normie American, Malstorm, Marie, Mark W, Nightman's Wife, Raven Hex, Doug Blask, and more coming in courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets and MJ Powell. You guys are amazing. Hey, MAGA Hat Stays says, Woodward's new book says Trump met with Putin 7 times since 2021. No one noticed, though. That's pretty weird. Tony Hay Munkets bringing in 5 more. Andrew Richardson is here. Henry G coming in. Pip is here. Kimberly Ferris and Renee S. gifted membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. Thank you, Tony, and welcome aboard, new membo friends. What's up, MAGA Hat? Says bomb threats were from Haiti, so the Haitian alliance could bring charges? Maybe a barbecue? Rick Donner says he was brought into the U.S. by the Biden-Harris administration on temporary parole after the Afghanistan withdrawal. Is that true? Yeah, we'll read that one. We'll see what it says. Former says, will former and future POTUS Trump be able to recover his costs to defend himself from this meritless complaint? No. Although, I don't know that Trump has invested much in this Haitian complaint. But yeah, any of like the J6 stuff, Fannie Willis stuff, and no, none of it. No, he's out of pocket. And that money is not going to the election campaign, right? He's got to spend $50 to $100 million just to defend himself. And the government is taking that money from us to prosecute him in various forms. So, no. Thank you for that. Former LEO in the house. And my goodness, my friends, we got some other nice donos coming in today. What a nice couple of comments that just came in. So from yesterday, Mama got a nice donation. Mama in the house, Mama G got a nice dono. And Donna sent a dono in over to Greg at Eric's house. So Eric's house, again, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping good people who've lost a loved one recover. And so Garrett, what's up? Julie Sitzo dropped a comment in memory of Garrett, a beautiful memory. We remember Garrett. We had another one from Sergeant GPS over at the Watcher community. Good to see you, Sergeant. Thanks for the dono here. Says, bless the work you, your family, counselors, staff, and volunteers do at Eric's house. Much love from the Watching the Watchers community, baby. Thank you, Sergeant GPS. Sergeant's an awesome dude. We got to meet him in Vegas and had a ton of fun. So thanks for that. From Sergeant GPS in the house. This one from this old guy. Hey, this old guy. What a nice dono. Says this old guy wants to add a little support to hope in the house. Keep up the good work. Thank you for that, Oliver Howard. This old guy. Good to see you. Thank you for that. That's going to be amazing. That's going to go to help a lot of people. We got Libra Law is in the house. We know who Libra Law is. That's Knox Bierman. She's a defense attorney in Texas. So shout out to Libra Law. Sending in some more love over to Madison. Knox sending some love to Madison. Maddie is what we call her. She's amazing. We love Maddie. Shout out to Maddie. Are we going to see her on Saturday? I don't know. But this Saturday, so go to ericshouse.org and we have our virtual fundraiser. It's live. So sign up for it. Come join us. Your boy's going to be emceeing it for 3 hours on Saturday. We'll do our members only stream in the morning and we'll get over there. What's up? AJ sent this one. Thank you for all you do. Great work. Keep it up. And it's Homer. Homer's one of the best. I saw there was something weird with Homer. There was some, like The Simpsons did a weird finale or something like that, but it wasn't really a finale, something. So my friends, thanks for sending in those donos over at Eric's house. You guys absolutely rock. No, Jack, it wasn't. No. Jack says, sorry for the dumb comment, Rob. Saw it all over your face. No. It has nothing to do with your comment, Jack. It has everything to do with my face. So don't worry about that. It's a great comment. I just, brain stops processing some comments from time to time. It just turns into Kamala Harris. And it's a great comment, right? They don't know causation at all. They can't blame Trump. They could blame Trump and the outrage about the fact that it's happening as the causation. It's a great comment. It's just my face and my brain. It's my face and my brain. That's the real problem. Hey, which is usually the case. Jester Bob says, the Black Hawk was most likely thinking about landing at that location, but stopped and left once they saw how much damage was occurring. Chinook rotor wash is much worse. We used to knock the roofs off in Honduras all the time. I bet it was an accident. Yeah, the thing is, I thought I saw it happen a couple times. That I can understand, an accident. That looks like a great spot to land. Oops, that's not a good spot to land, and I'm out of here. But I thought it's happened a couple times, which felt a little strange. But great comments, my friends. Thank you for sending those in. We really appreciate the support at Eric's house, here on the show, wherever it is you support us. Thanks for doing that. Let's say hello to some friends on X. Then we're going to wrap it up and go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We're going to hang out. Hey, Fred says, I read Citizen United versus FEC. I never knew it all started due to a negative documentary on Hillary. Shakes, what's up? All rise. U.S. driver says, I've speculated that Doug was using Jill to sabotage Joe. Yeah, Charles says, yeah, when Doug gives flirty chicks a beatdown, I think misogynist actually is properly applied to him. And Ruthless says that Doug should be investigated for his shady ties to BlackRock, not to mention domestic violence. Good calls on that. All right, so those are from our friends over on X, and we're really grateful to see everybody over there. MJ Powell gifted 10 more membos before we call it a day. MJ Powell, you are the best. Look, Jennifer B got one. Annie Palmer in the house. Chris Sawyer, Audio Wizard, Swerk is here. Ian Cooper, Ryan Vintage, LR, Chris Carson, Old Man John Face, gifted membos, courtesy of MJ Powell in the house. And my friends, thank you for bringing them in. Thanks for bringing in the new membos, MJ, and for joining us, my friends. It's been a fun stream. Very appreciative of you being here. We're going to wrap it up. Go over to Locals, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. If you want to come and join us. YouTube membos, you can join in the after party. If you're a YouTube member, just go to the community tab section, navigate, grab the Telegram link. That's how you can join us. Otherwise, my friends, our plan is to be back here tomorrow. And you know that tomorrow we are going to get into this again. It's going to be a beautiful Wednesday. We can't wait to do it. But in order to do it properly, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.